Hi, everyone. My name is Vanessa Balta, and I am with the City of Winter Park Sustainability Program and Keep Winter Park Beautiful. Thanks so much for joining me today. We're going to learn more about recycling right in Winter Park. So to start our conversation, we should talk about what recycling is. So recycling is the process of collecting and processing materials that would otherwise be thrown away as trash and turning them into new products. What are the benefits of recycling? Well, when it's done right, recycling reduces the amount of waste that we send to landfills and incinerators. It conserves natural resources such as timber, water, and minerals. It increases economic security by tapping a domestic source of materials. It prevents pollution by reducing the need to collect new raw materials. It saves energy, and it supports American manufacturing and conserves valuable resources, helping create jobs in the recycling and manufacturing industries here in the United States. So on this slide here, you can see the various kind of life cycles of recyclable materials. But generally speaking, we're talking about a material extraction, manufacturing, production, transportation, utilization, potentially some reuse, potentially some recycling of the material. So when you think about recycling, you can think of 3 steps. And it's usually represented kind of by that familiar recycling symbol. So the first step is collection and processing, which you can see here in the various states. So there are several methods for collecting recyclables, including curbside collection, drop-off centers, and deposit or refund programs. After collection, the recyclables are sent to a recovery facility to be sorted, cleaned, and processed into materials that can be used in manufacturing. Recyclables are bought and sold just like raw materials would be, and prices go up and down depending on supply and demand in the United States and the world. We'll get into what is currently recyclable in Winter Park in the next few slides. Step 2, manufacturing. More and more of today's products are being manufactured with recycled content. Common household items that contain recycled materials include newspapers and paper towels, aluminum, plastic and glass soft drink containers, steel cans, plastic laundry detergent bottles. Recycled materials are also being used in new ways, such as recovered glass and asphalt to pave roads, or recovered plastic and carpeting and park benches. Step 3 is actually purchasing new products made from recycled materials. You help close the recycling loop by buying new products made from recycled materials. There are thousands of products that contain recycled content. When you go shopping, look for the following. Try to find products that can be easily recycled. Products that contain recycled content should be your preference. This means that the product was manufactured with recycled materials that were either collected from a recycling program or from waste recovered during the normal manufacturing process. The label will sometimes include how much of the content is from recycled materials. Post-consumer content lets you know that the materials are coming from recyclables collected from consumers or businesses through a recycling program. So let's dig deeper into collection and processing here in Winter Park. Specifically, we're going to be talking about single family and duplex households. In the city of Winter Park, we do not have a solid waste department. We have contracted with a company, Waste Pro, to be our exclusive hauler for single family and duplex recyclables curbside collection. In the case of multifamily or apartments or commercial buildings, recycling is not a mandatory service. These buildings can select from various companies that must register with the City of Winter Park as a recycling hauler. These haulers will then contract out the final destination of the recyclables if they are not also the processors. So returning to what happens here in Winter Park for our single family and duplex households. On your scheduled day, your roll cart would be placed curbside for collection by the hauler, Waste Pro. The roll carts, as you can see, have Recycle Across America labels on them that remind you of what is an acceptable recyclable. As well, we'd like to remind you, and the cart label also reminds you, that these items should be placed loose in the cart. Recyclables should not be bagged. So Waste Pro drives up in their truck and they will empty your roll cart into the Waste Pro truck using a mechanical arm that lifts and dumps all of the contents of the bin into the truck. Little, if any, sorting or removal of contaminants will be done curbside. After completing this route, the Waste Pro truck will travel to Orange County Transfer Station that is located at 5901 Young Pine Road. This transfer station is managed by the company Waste Management. The Waste Pro driver will unload, and a waste management representative will determine whether or not the entire load is acceptable or it needs to be rejected due to an unacceptable level of contamination. If the load is rejected, the city will need to pay Waste Pro to reload and haul the waste to be landfilled. If the load is accepted, the recyclables will then be loaded onto a waste management truck and driven to their nearest sorting facility. These are commonly known as MRFs, or materials recovery facilities. Theirs is in Cocoa, and it's located at 650 Townsend Road, about 35 minutes east of Orlando. There, the items will be loaded onto a conveyor belt system that includes some visual sorting and removal of large contaminants. But primarily, the sorting is done through a series of mechanical automated processes that result in large rectangular blocks or bales of sorted recyclables. So through this process, we have issues with contamination that are becoming more and more apparent. As you can see in the photo on the slide, contamination like plastic bags, garden hoses, and other types of tanglers, which are not recyclable in curbside collection, can gum up the machinery, forcing the whole operation to stop and decreasing the entire system's efficiency and increasing the overall cost of recycling. These contaminants can also impact the value of sorted bales, which we know is very important because this is a commodity that we're trying to sell, these recyclables. In addition, impacting recycling right now is China's national sword policy. China's national sword policy was enacted in January 2018, and essentially it banned the import of most plastics and other materials headed for the nation's recycling processors, which had handled nearly half of the world's recyclable waste for the past quarter century. Prior to the national sword policy, China would be willing to take grossly contaminated recyclable bales and use their labor at 1/10 of the cost of what we're used to sort the actual materials. So this is no longer the case. Costs associated with recycling are up. Revenue associated with recycling is down. The recycling crisis triggered by China's ban could have an upside if it leads to better solutions for managing the world's waste, such as expanding processing capacities here in North America. But more importantly, it has been a wake-up call to the world and to the need to sharply cut down on the use of single-use plastics. So what are acceptable items for your curbside recycling bin? If you learn anything from this presentation, I hope it's that what you put in your recycling bin really matters. Is there a market for it? Is it something that will actually be recycled, or is it actually a contaminant that makes recycling more expensive in the long run? If it's not valuable, if it's not on our acceptables list, you are just wish cycling. You are wishing that it's something that's recyclable, but it's actually not. And it actually creates more problems and it helps no one. So what are acceptable items? What's on this acceptables list? For plastics, think shapes. This information comes directly from Waste Management and Cocoa. The numbers on the bottom just don't tell you anything about whether or not there is a value in that item in the current recycling market. So don't pay attention to the numbers, pay attention to the shape. The current plastic items that have a current market value and should be placed in your recycling bin are plastic bottles, think of like for your water or your soda, plastic jugs, and plastic tubs. Any other kind of plastic container or packaging should not be placed in your curbside recycling bin. It should be placed in the trash if you aren't able to find a good reuse for it or a specific drop-off facility for processing it. It should not go in your curbside recycling bin. Some examples of plastics that are not recyclable in your curbside recycling bin include things like single-use plastics, like plastic bags, plastic cups from coffee shops, plastic straws, forks, knives, and spoons. All of these should go in the trash when you're done with them. Why? Because there is no market for these items. And if they get to sorting facilities, they're considered contaminants that could damage equipment and will likely be landfilled. Moving on to glass, place empty glass bottles and jars. No glass cookware or bakeware or miscellaneous pieces of glass should be going in your recycling container. For metal, you'll want to put in your empty aluminum, steel, and tin food and beverage cans. Remember, never put any kind of household hazardous waste or electronics in your recycling bin. For paper, put in flattened cardboard and mixed paper. Make sure that these are not soiled or contaminated with foods or oils. We want nice, clean paper that's been flattened if it's cardboard. Remember that for all of these items should be emptied and there should be no food or liquids in your recycling container. So to make it easy for you, please don't forget that we actually have a label on your roll cart that specifies these items. We actually recently updated our Recycle Across America labels to include a link to our waste wizard, which you can find at cityofwinterpark.org/thinktwice. It's an easy search tool for figuring out what goes where. If you'd like to order a new label for your roll cart, you can also go to cityofwinterpark.org/thinktwice and select the button on the top that says replacement labels, and we'll mail you one. So let's talk about some of the common contaminants that are in our Winter Park loads. Here I'm sharing some pictures that were sent to us from Waste Management, the representative who goes through all of our loads and says whether or not it's acceptable or rejected. As you can see here, there is a wide variety of items that people are wish cycling. Wire hangers, plastic drainage pipes. You can also see some styrofoam, some miscellaneous plumbing pipes, and plastic pots. In these pictures, you can see some paint, containers, styrofoam, clearly from some packaging, miscellaneous, once again, containers. You can also see recyclables that are in bags. So none of these items are acceptable items and could cause our load to be rejected. Here's some more. These are blinds, and these are all pictures from our community that were sent to us. Someone put a whole set of blinds in there, more hangers, this time not wire, but plastic, more bagged recyclables. You see here they use the blue bag. Well, that's not a program that we have in our community. If it's in a blue bag, it's still a bag. No type of plastic bags or plastic wrap should be going in your curbside bin. And then this is a really interesting one that I often see in the photos that are sent to me are air filters, AC air filters. These are not recyclable. Nobody's going to take these apart and make something out of it. These should go in the trash. So what can I do next? Well, first, it's very important for you to recognize the waste management hierarchy. This is coming from the EPA. At the top, The most environmentally preferred method of dealing with waste is source reduction and reuse. So what does that mean? That means when you go to the store, you refuse the plastic bag. You bring your own reusable bag. That way you don't have to worry about constantly properly disposing of plastic bags. Again, plastic bags cannot go in your curbside recycling. There are drop-off locations at like Publix where you could take those bags, but it's just an added thing that you would have to do. So bring your reusable bag and then you never have to worry about those plastic bags. When you're picking your tomatoes at the store, choose the loose ones, not the ones in the cute plastic basket or the ones wrapped in plastic. Make sure to grab the ones that are nice and loose so that you don't have to worry about, again, dealing with that packaging and disposing of it properly. Instead of going to the coffee shop every day and having to throw out a cup every single day, because those are not acceptable in our recycling bins, neither the paper nor the plastic ones, start making coffee at home or your beverages at home. You'll save money and you can actually use your reusable mugs and take them on the go with you. When you hold an event or a party, don't automatically provide disposable cups, plates, and flatware. Plan your menu so that folks can use napkins and so that there is as little food waste as possible. And select reusables if you need a plate. If you must purchase something that is packaged, make sure you are following our acceptables list, which we went through and is also on your roll cart. If you're unsure, because maybe you have an item that you think might qualify, but you're not sure, we have a waste wizard tool, and you can find it at cityofwinterpark.org/thinktwice. It's essentially a Google search that gives you information on where an item can go. You should also sign up while you're there for reminders for your collection days. And you can also use the calendar tool to find out when the next city's household hazardous waste collection event is, electronics waste collection event is, and a lot of other events related to sustainability. Lastly, we'd love for you to tell a friend or a neighbor, if they are outside of Winter Park, let them know about centralfloridarecycles.org. This is an initiative between all of these different municipalities where we're trying to let people know that there are ways for them to ensure what they're putting in the recycling bin is correct. So here they'll be able to find out what we recommend specifically to our residents and versus what the other municipalities will recommend specifically to their residents. I'd like to thank you again for joining me today. If you have any questions at all or just want to talk trash, you can call me or email me. My contact information is here on the slide. Thanks for helping us make every day in Winter Park Earth Day.